Alright, we're just going to jump right into it. So this is a video about raking hay. This what right here is a side rake. A side rake. There's also a disc rake, a parallel rake, and a few others that are used commonly in North America. I just like the side because it's a lot easier to use. Obviously you can see that it kind of binds up at times. I don't have it set correctly. This is just my first time using it. I forgot what model I bought, but this is a Massey Ferguson model. So basically what a side rake does is it's wheel driven. So there's a clutch in the back right wheel up there that enables it to spin when you're pulling it and then to stop it when you're pulling it. As you can see, the faster you go, the more hay you have. It's kind of like a tidal wave almost. This is where I had cut a lot of hay, and you can see I'm going against my cuts. You're not really supposed to do that, but there's a specific reason why I'm doing that. It just basically makes a tidal wave is all it does. And you use the momentum of your vehicle, like I said earlier, to push it out the side of the rake, and that's why it's called a side rake, and it makes a windrow. And what a windrow does is it dries the hay out in the sun, and then after the drying process is done, you come through with your baler, and then you go ahead and bale it up. So with that being said, you can see that there's certain parts of this field where I've already raked, and I'm kind of just getting the leftover pieces and trying to rake them into another windrow. You want to try to get as much as you can in the rake so it grabs all the other hay and that tidal wave I was talking about, but you don't want to have your rakes too low to the ground to where they start dragging and binding up. That's also a no-no, which you saw earlier. I've attached the rake to a drawbar that's connected to a 3-point hitch, and basically there is no top link to this drawbar that's in between my top links. The rake doesn't flip over on itself, so I don't need to have some type of secured form for it, and it stays level because of how I got the levelers set on my 3-point hitch in an earlier video that I talked about. So basically you can kind of see how I'm kind of driving in a circle, and then I'm trying to line up with big old patches of hay that I need to be raking into a line. So right now I'm transporting it down the hill to go to the next field that I got on my property, and so on. So generally speaking, when you're cutting your hay, you want to cut it as low as the ground as possible because you start getting bind-ups and the hay not flowing correctly when you get into tall grass like this. If it's really tall, you just wind up binding your hay up, or the loose hay into the non-cut hay, and it doesn't really bale that well. And it's just a whole conglomeration of stuff that winds up screwing you in the end. And as you can see here, I got a little bit of different hay. It's alfalfa. I usually do about 80% hay and 20% alfalfa. I'm trying to go up to about 40%, but that's just a non-stop battle. So anyway, like I said, you can clearly see how I'm making a windrow behind it. Unfortunately, the camera didn't get the really big end of a windrow of how this rake works, but if you go online, you can see a million of them. Now, one of the advantages and disadvantages to this rake is that it doesn't get as wide of a surface area as a disc rake, and a disc rake basically has a bunch of circles on it that look like wheels, and they got a bunch of barbs on them to grab the hay, and it draws it into a center, so it's kind of like a V with an open in the middle, and the hay goes in that, and that creates a windrow. Those are hydraulic powered, compared to this one, which is no hydraulics on it, which is a plus for this one. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't have as wide as a reach as a rake one. Parallels and side rakes pretty much do the same job. Parallels do slightly different and for different types of hay, but generally speaking, they're the same. I usually see a lot of older generations of farmers use this style of rake because their tractors don't have the hydraulic hookups, or they don't like dealing with it because it's just another thing that breaks. I like the side rake because they're pretty simple to use. They're pretty easy to repair and fix. It's not a whole lot that really goes wrong with them. And they're pretty beefy if you accidentally bump into something, which I don't suggest doing. But yeah, this is basically what raking is. You literally just rake or cut hay into a huge row and then you bale it. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty easy. You know, there's always tips and tricks. There's levelers on all these balers, and you know you got to make sure you got the right hook up to the right tractor, and you got to make sure everything's level. Otherwise, you're going to have a horrible day doing this because it jams up and binds up a lot. You just barely want the tines or the hay pickups or teeth or whatever you want to call them to just gracefully touch the ground as it's picking up the hay, like it here. Well, thanks for watching. That's basically I rake hay. It's not too difficult. One of the easier ones of haying. So subscribe.